Hey guys, and welcome back to the Crazy Cozy Corner. I'm Brianna, and this is the Crazy Cozy Corner. We are doing our February reading wrap-up. Now, this was a short month, but I feel like I got a lot of books read. And I think it's because I started listening to audiobooks more. But let's see, we started this month off with a bang. What was I reading? So I think I talked about it in my last reading wrap up, but I was reading the Enchantress Returns, which was the second book in the Land of Stories by Chris Colfer, and the Dollmakers. So I think I finished them pretty close together. But the Dollmakers, I think, was one of my first. I mean, I guess there's been 5 stars this year, but this one is like a 5-star that I called. So we are following, I can't remember her name. Oh gosh. She has such a pretty name too. But we're following this girl who wants to be a guard dollmaker. And she lives in this world of, there's these evil entities. I can't remember what they're called, but I know what the dolls are called at least, you know. And there's guard dolls and artisan dolls, right? So one's for like play and enjoy, and the other protects them from the evil beings, right? And so you're following this girl on her adventure of kind of self-discovery, really. We start off with her licensing exam, and the dolls kind of know what they're made for. And there's a secret that the licensing people, the people who deal with the dolls and stuff, know that regular doll makers don't. And it's like that the dolls can respond and tell you what they're made for. You just have to ask the right questions because they don't speak, or do they? But she throws a huge fit because she is licensed as an artisan doll maker and not a guard doll maker. And she always wanted to be a guard doll maker because her family had been killed by the evil entity things. Oh, I really wish I could remember what they're called. But so she goes to this, well, she's actually sent away by her teacher because he's like, I've spoiled her too much and she needs to kind of learn. And so she gets sent away to this village called Webb, and she decides she's going to challenge the doll maker there. So that's all stuff you find out really quick. But, you know, like I said, there's self-discovery, kind of knowing that, or finding out that you don't maybe fit into finding out that you don't fit exactly right into a box, but maybe there's a middle ground. And yeah, I loved that book. I was Sheen! I think that was her name. But I was so annoyed with her because she was acting so, obviously childish, but arrogant. And arrogance, but seeing her growth through the book, I knew, because a lot of books, I already like the character, but I knew this was going to be a heavy hitter because of that feeling. I said it in my last video, I think, the last reading wrap-up video. But yeah, and then I was listening to the audiobook for The Enchantress Returns, and I gotta say, Chris Colfer is such a talent. The voice acting and everything, I just feel so immersed when he's reading the book to me, right? And so I rated that one 4 stars, which I'm I guess I didn't realize. I thought I had been giving them all 5 stars, because this book series is, I don't know, it's just, maybe it was the right time this time, but Chris, his voice acting and bringing me into the world and everything, I just loved this series. And I finished it this month, so we'll talk about it. But The Enchantress Returns, this witch named Esmia that kept the evil queen as a slave and stuff like that, or prisoner, I guess, lack of better terms. She comes back. Everybody thought she was dead, but she was just everything good inside her was killed, and so now she's just like pure evil. And we find out later in the book series what made her actually evil, which, I mean, I think that's in like the 4th or 5th book that they kind of share that. But this one, Alex and Connor, they go back to the land of stories in a special way because their mom's been kidnapped, and so their grandma's like keeping them locked up in the other in the other world, keeping them away because they're trying to find out a way to fix everything. But you know, Alex and Connor, they find their way back into their home, and which, I mean, it's not really, but they feel like the fairy tale world is their home. So they find a way back, and it's just them collecting items again to kind of defeat the Enchantress, which is really, I think it's really cool how they like bring her demise. Yeah, that was on my Goodreads, it's 4-star, but really like this entire series 5-star for me. So I don't know what I was thinking. I'm gonna go back and change that. But then next was The City of Lost Souls, and I rated that 2 stars. That's by Cassandra Clare. I'm trying to remember what it was about. I think the 4th book, no, is that the 5th book? No, yes, because, okay, so this is the one where, like, Jace is kind of being controlled against his will by Sebastian, and stuff like that. So Clare is trying to find a way to save Jace, and so she goes with him into their little like portal dimension, or like pocket dimension. There we go. But I mean, I didn't really love Sebastian, and so it was not it for me. I feel like I talk about this series somewhere. I think I talk about it in my TBR that's gonna be with this month. So you'll hear more my thoughts on that. But that was City of Lost Souls. That was the 5th book. So we're well, I finished it, but we're like almost done with that series finally. And then wow, that took me a hot minute to read. Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. So I started that December, like beginning of December, finished that February 11th. But like nonfiction books, they take me a lot longer to go through because it's information that you have to like think about and ruminate on. Whereas it like a story, you kind of just like delve in and like, I'm sorry if you hear my dog. She's outside and letting me know that she's upset with that. Anyways, that was a 4-star. So it's just about living life vulnerably, and you know, just you have to read it to really like understand. But it was a good book. I definitely feel like I've learned a lot. And next, okay, see, that was a little fluke. I think I accidentally hit 4 stars for that for the 2nd book. No, where's the 3rd book? Oh, I skipped right over it. Ha, oopsies. So going back, I listened to A Grimm Warning, by Chris Colfer, which is the 3rd book in the Land of Stories series. This one, Connor goes to Germany to hear the Brothers Grimm, their stories. They had like 3 stories that were being unveiled like 200 years after their death. And it kind of reveals that there may or may not be an army on the way to the Land of Stories, and someone knew about it but didn't forgot to warn their world about it. And so it's Connor trying to see if the portal is open, and like Alex kind of discovering herself because she is going to be made she's like the fairy godmother in training. So she's granting wishes. She's kind of living her best life because she, at the end of the 2nd book, she stays back in the fairy tale world because they're gonna have to close off the portal. Oh, that's like a big plot point. That's why Connor goes and finds this like portal to see if it works, because his grandmother had closed the portal to make sure there was no traveling back and forth. But alas, she is sick in this book, and so her magic's fading, and so it's just kind of saving the kingdom. They find out that someone who looks like their father is a bad guy. And so that leads into the next book, which I'll just go with the Land of Stories. We'll go to the 5th book and then we'll hop back to where like we are actually at. The 5th book is an author's Odyssey. So this is, no, where am I even at? That was a Grimm Warning. Okay, all right. The author's Odyssey is the 5th book, but we're beyond the kingdoms right now. So they defeated the Grand Army. And so they are like trying to rebuild, but there is, what happens? 4th book, Beyond the Kingdoms. Oh, yes. Okay. So Alex is having some outbursts. She's unable to control her emotions, and so she like has big feelings. But they're trying to chase down the guy that she saw that looked like their dad, and she thinks it's their dad. And so they're trying to find him because she believes he's the biggest threat. Well, the Fairy Council, there's kids going missing, and so they're more worried about that and kind of telling Alex that she's crazy, even though she's the fairy godmother. So they unfairy godmother her, and she like has a fit of rage and disappears. Well, like she gets found and everything, and it starts fading away because she goes through like they're trying to figure out what the masked man's reasoning for like what he's doing, or like what he's up to. They figure it out, and so they have to start going into stories after him. And so they go to like the Wizard of Oz, Peter Pan. Where else do we go? I don't know. But, well, we go to Robin Hood, and we also go to King Arthur's story, the Knights of the Round Table, stuff like that. So they go through these stories to like try to catch their uncle. Well, like they end up getting trapped in the stories, but they get out, like fun stuff, right? But then, you know, the literary army takes over the fairy tale world. And so Alex and Connor decide to recruit their own army. But that is in the 5th book. And I will get there when I get there. So we're going to circle back. We're going to back it up. Okay. So I read Emma. And that's a book that we'll be talking about later this month as well. Emma, insufferable. Like, I think that's what she's supposed to be. I really hope you can't hear the laundry. I'm so sorry if you do, because I have no idea how to fix volume and stuff. So I might have to refilm this if it sounds bad. But I read Emma, rated it 3 stars. It's by Jane Austen. Obviously, like if I compare it to how much I love Pride and Prejudice, it like falls beneath that. Like at first I really wanted to love Emma, but like the decisions and the like things, like she was taking away people's choices, and I don't like that. I am a big proponent of like free will, and you know, like, and I don't like so Emma's using her free will to take others' free will. I don't like that. I don't like when you like impose yourself on someone else because of your, anyways, neither here or there. I won't probably read it again, but I like to have the classics on my shelf because people might love it like that. And, you know, maybe one day I'll have like a book club at my house, or like have people like they can come borrow a book or whatever and like leave it at my house. So it's like, it's not gonna be a library unless I really, really trust you, because I like my books and good. Like I buy most of my books used unless like they're like brand new out and you can't buy it used. But I mean, does that really matter? Okay. Emma, that's it. Then I listened to City of Heavenly Fire, which is the last book in the Mortal Instruments series. And let me tell you, I was so looking forward to not owning this series anymore. But I had to come back and like, I would reread the series for the last quarter of the 6th book in the Mortal Instruments series. Because what they did, I cried. But then, like, the consequences kind of got erased, so it's okay. But, like, I cried, like, I felt things, and, like, they didn't, like, Cassandra Clare didn't try to justify Sebastian, Jonathan, but, like, there's a little part of me, like, it's kind of talked about in the book, too, like, where it's, like, he could have been this if it hadn't been taken away from him before he was even born, right? And so, it was just like mourning for a boy that never existed but could have, right? But it's, you know, the clave being the clave. And let me tell you, like, maybe it's not even a hot take. I doubt I'm the only one. But Valentine and Sebastian were not wrong in wanting the Clave to be like revamped, because honestly, they're crap. They're so like, you know, like we got, what is it? It's not necessarily like race, but they're like, no, like I would have to say like their blood. Like, so they kind of remind me of a Hitler. They kind of remind me of that group of people with how they feel about other, like the downworlders and stuff like that. And so like how they ended it, I was so mad. And then Magnus, not Malcolm, that's a different book I'm reading. Magnus was so right to call out how the Fae are gonna come back and it's gonna bite the Clave in the butt for what they're asking. And you know what? I look forward to that. I really hope there's like, I'm interested in reading the rest of this world. So like I added them to my want to read on Goodreads, but like I want to see the downfall of the Clave, because they're not like, some of it is good, but like they need a revamp. And so like I didn't agree with like Valentine like killing all the downworlders, but I mean like he could see the problems, and so I'm like, I probably would have been in the circle too. Like, and they can't listen. They don't listen. And then they're like, rah! Anyways, so that was the end of that series, and unfortunately it will not be unhauled because of the last book. There's 1.25 books in this series that I really like, which was like what, the third and the last quarter of the last book. But that's enough for me, I guess. And then I read or listened to an author's Odyssey, which is the 5th book in the Land of Stories by Chris Colfer. And I really got a lot of these books done this month. Woo-woo! I don't know how many I actually read, but like I read at least 5. What's the number between 4 and 6? 5. 5 of the Land of Stories. But this one, we're following Alex and Connor. They're going into Connor's stories to get their own literary army to save the fairy tale world. Well, they finally recruit all the characters from his stories, and like we learn a lot about Connor in this one, which I liked, because we learned a lot about Alex, and because they're both super important, but I feel like there's more importance on one or the other in some books. At the end of that book, Alex disappears, and we have found out that the witches had cursed Esmea because they were trying to go to the other world and take it over, but she was like the only one that could make a portal or whatever, and so they had used this dust to like curse her, like they wanted to curse Alex, but they needed more of that dust for Alex because she was more powerful than Esmea. And so like at the end of the book, when Alex goes missing, she's like taken over by the witches. She basically has no free will because they had hexed the dust so that they had complete control over her. So she only in her sleep could she like try to communicate with someone that she needed help, or like, so that's where we jump into Worlds Collide, which is the 6th book of the Land of Story. And let me say, like, the only book that I rated 4 stars, I guess, was the second one, but they're all 5 stars. So that's been changed. So all the Land of Story is 5 stars for me. But this one was really short. It was a 9-hour listen, but it was like, it felt like it was the same length, but it was also shorter. I don't know how to explain it. There was so much going on really quickly that it was like, it was a quick read, but also like, I don't know how to explain it other than it was just quick. And in my TBR video that'll be coming out, I'll go into more in depth about that. But yeah, that was 5 stars. I didn't say, but City of Heavenly Fire was a 3-star for me, which isn't the lowest that I've given this series. So there's that. And then my last book for the month was The Assistant to the Villain. And I loved this book. Like, it just right time. It was slow burn. It was like 5. It was a 5-star for me. I loved this book. So we're following this girl, primarily Evie Sage, that kind of was down on her luck and gets a job offer from the villain, right? And so she becomes his assistant. And it's kind of like the shenanigans that they get into. For me, this book feels like, it was like more of a cozy, a fantasy vibe for me, personally. The second book doesn't give that vibe, which we'll talk about. So I said 5 stars. Assistant to the Villain is by Hannah Nicole Maehrer. But we'll talk about the books that I am currently reading. I am currently about, I would say, 60% through Apprentice to the Villain. And I'm enjoying it okay, but it's not like hitting like the first book did for me. I guess because the slow burn aspect kind of isn't there anymore, and it's more like they're focusing on like their bodies and stuff, and that makes me uncomfortable. I try not to read books like that because, I mean, it's like I'm supposed to enjoy it, right? No shame to anybody else, but like if I don't enjoy it. But sometimes the plot's so good. Like so far, like it's I mean, it's okay. Am I going to read the third book when it comes out because I bought it? Yes. Or I pre-ordered it. So I am going to do that, but I'm not super impressed with this one so far. But I'll get into my thoughts next month when I talk about it. The only thing that or I guess my TBR book too. Anyways, I'm a little disappointed. I ordered the book and I didn't have a choice to get it without the sprayed edges, but like it has that little imperfection there. I mean, whatever. They're just doing sprayed edges really to just charge more, in my opinion. Unless like it's actually like super pretty and like design and stuff. Like I don't want sprayed edges if they're just gonna be one color, but maybe that's just me. But also I'm reading The Forgotten Names and I am still 13 pages in. Because I don't have the audiobook for this one, so it's taking me a little bit longer because I don't have as much time to read as I used to, like physically sit and read, because I'm working, and so I've been listening to audiobooks on my way home, and when I don't have anything to do in the evening, I can read, but there hasn't been much of that. And if I want to read, because most of the time I've been staring at a computer all day, so I just want to not, if that makes sense. But I'll be right back. But yeah, that's what I'm currently reading, and that's all the books that I read this month. Let's do a little tally of how many books. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. So 11 books in this short month, I think is pretty good. Yeah, but I can't wait for next month. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you had as good a time as I had. I hope I didn't talk too fast, but I listen to things at 2 times speed, so I talk at 2 times speed, hopefully. If I don't, I'm sorry, because just speed me up, because I probably sound better that way. But thank you for watching, and like, subscribe, share, ring the notification bell. I'd love to have like some discourse. No, is that the correct word? I'd like to have some conversations in the comments about these books. If you've read them, let me know. If you haven't read them, let me know. And if you just want to comment for the algorithm's sake, say chicken nuggets. Yeah. See you in the next. Bye.